Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Honey Apple Urban Homestead. I wanted to give you a quick tour of the front beds today. You've seen the back garden last week. This one will be a shorter tour because there is less to see. There are only 3 things to see plant-wise in the front yard, and they are these 2 raised beds and then the area along the driveway. So this little guy right here is bed number 2, and he's number 2 because we planted him this year as opposed to this one, which we planted last year. This one had basically 2 lives this summer. Those tall stalks you can see are sunflowers, and they were single head sunflowers. So they grew, they bloomed once, they were glorious for about 2 weeks, and then they were done. And then we had planted zinnias and cosmos, which had done really well for us in bed number 1 last year, and they were struggling because the sunflowers took a lot of the light. So once we cut down the sunflowers, the zinnias just exploded. We did also plant several other things in here, most of which didn't come up. I planted baby's breath, which I didn't see. I planted snapdragons, which I didn't see. I also planted rudbeckia, and those finally did come up. The rudbeckia is black-eyed Susan, is the more common name. And here's one. This is the tallest one in the bed, and it has bloomed. It bloomed once when the sunflowers were here, and it's bloomed several times since. And then also, excitingly, there's a couple of other ones that are currently in bloom. I mean, they're the shortest little things you've ever seen, but it's really cool to see them coming out in flower. So unfortunately, the zinnias and the cosmos are frost sensitive, so that's where all this dead stuff comes from. And I need to clean this bed out. It's mostly done. This is bed number 1. We planted this with a lot of wildflowers last year and then just let it go this year. I did plant some new sunflowers in here, but everything else I just thought, well, let's see what comes up. So there is some milkweed in here. These things, like this is a milkweed. This is called an Indian sage. That's the one that makes these beautiful red bells. And this is an Indian blanket flower, which is Oklahoma State flower. And then over here, this clump of stuff, which was glorious in the spring and then died back over the summer, is called coreopsis and makes these beautiful yellow flowers. So that's what's in this bed. And then these 3 sunflowers here, there were more sunflowers in here of the same variety that was over in bed number 2, and I've cut them all down. These ones, though, are a surprise. They were part of the mix that we planted in here last year. We had a wildflower mix. I don't know what variety they are, and we thought that the squirrels had taken off with all the seed heads and we weren't going to get any more this year. And so when these 3 came up, it was a big surprise. So we call them our mystery or our surprise sunflower, and there are still a couple of buds on it. So I haven't cut them down yet because they're still, see if I can get a picture here. You see that? They're still pumping out flowers. So that's bed number 1, and then over here along the driveway was an experiment that went okay. Peter had asked for marigolds along the driveway, so I dug out a strip along the driveway. We planted these from seed. Some of them did really well, but some of them, like from here all the way to the end of the driveway, they've all just disappeared. And you can see as I pan down the line here, there are some empty spaces where they just didn't make it whatsoever. But we planted I can't remember what the name of it was, but like an orange and yellow mix. So like this one's got lots of little blooms going on it. There's a pretty one. That's an awesome one. Nothing like a marigold I'm used to seeing, but they're very pretty. And then these pale yellow ones mixed in here. They're kind of leggy. They're all over the place. I haven't really done much to corral them. There's a pretty one. That is what they look like when they die. There we go. There's a red, or an orange and yellow next to each other, and here's some orange and yellow next to each other as well. So I don't know if we're going to do that again next year. Our theory is either that some of them just died, that the heat radiating off the driveway in the summer is too much, and our other theory was that maybe the soil in places wasn't very good. So we'll see. So that's it. That's the front bed. We have our marigold bed, bed 1, which was mostly wildflowers and not planted this year, and bed number 2, which was new this year. So thanks for joining me on this tour, and I will see you in my next video.